Chapter 3 Service Animals. Humans and animals have enjoyed a unique and mutually beneficial relationship for tens of thousands of years, and none is more special than the bond between a person and man's best friend, a dog. No one understands exactly when the first canine overcame their fear of humans and entered into a camp, but since that day many hundreds of years ago, dogs have served as friends and faithful companions to people, coexisting peacefully. Service animals, first popularized in the 1970s, are a form of technology that allow people with disabilities to exist independently and achieve their full potential. Given this, how did service dogs become such an integral part of the disability identity? And how do they help students with disabilities expand their horizons academically and beyond in higher education? Our understanding of service animals is supported by archaeological findings, which have uncovered scenes of dogs and humans living together in a service relationship. The ancient Egyptians kept dogs as treasured pets and helpers. Some even went to the expense of mummifying the dog in exactly the same way as the human was preserved for the afterlife, so that master and canine could be reunited in the hereafter. In fact, dogs being used in service of humans with disabilities was not limited to only ancient Egypt. Images found in the ruins of an ancient Roman city depict a blind man being led by a dog, and Chinese scrolls show similar scenes of dogs acting as a helper to a person. Of course, we also know that dogs have been used in military capacities since the Roman Empire. In the 1700s, dogs were used in Europe to lead medical teams to wounded soldiers and carry messages between camps on the front lines of many major conflicts. Despite the fact that dogs have long existed as pets and companions, and in the military, the job of the dog in a service capacity was still largely unheard of until the later half of the 20th century. The use of dogs as service animals for individuals with mobility disabilities was pioneered by a researcher and doctor named Bonnie Bergen. She observed the use of donkeys as service animals during her travels in Asia, and wondered what dogs might be able to do to assist people in North America. She spent a great deal of time working in kennels and documenting the traits and characteristics of many different breeds of dogs. It was Bonnie who ultimately decided upon the term service dog to clarify the difference between this specially trained dog and an animal specifically trained to hunt or who is a household pet. Bonnie continued her work into the realm of the development of training techniques and commands such as find, open, down, wait, and watch me, among many others. In 1989, she testified before Congress as they were debating the elements of the Americans with Disabilities Act in order to help clarify and define the terms for the two types of dogs being trained. The two original types of dogs were service dogs, which represented any animal trained to help a person with a mobility need, and assistance dogs, which encompassed any individual with a wider range of disabilities, such as the blind or the hearing impaired. It was her work that led to the recognition that the service dog and their human partner have a unique bond, thus paving the way for social acceptance of the working dog in society. As Bonnie was working to clarify the definition of a service dog, people with disabilities were struggling in order to gain the legal rights to access and protection for these animals. This led to the Capitol Crawl protest, which was one of the most impactful and powerful protests for disability rights in contemporary history. In March 1990, disability rights activists descended on the U.S. Capitol, demanding the passage of the ADA, which would give equal rights and protection to people with disabilities and allow them the right to have a specially trained service animal. After the day's rally and speeches, over 60 activists abandoned their wheelchairs and mobility devices and began crawling the 83 stone steps up to the U.S. Capitol building, painting a powerful image of the daily struggles of many people with disabilities living in a still largely inaccessible world. The job of the dog in a service capacity was only defined in the legal code of the ADA in 1990 as any guide dog, signal dog, or other animal individually trained to provide assistance to someone with a disability. Prior to 1990, mobility service dogs had a very poorly defined job description and absolutely no legal protection from discrimination. The ADA led the way to a more formalized set of guidelines and methods for the training and use of a dog in a service capacity, including ensuring that students in higher education had the legal right to be accompanied by a service dog into any and all campus buildings. The service dog of today is a highly trained and specialized assistant and companion, trained to complete tasks such as opening doors, retrieving dropped items, or providing physical support to a person with a mobility impairment, such as pulling a wheelchair. The service dog has little resemblance to an average household pet. These animals are truly capable of transforming the life of their human partner. In higher education, service dogs provide their owner peace of mind to live and navigate campus independently and confidently without the need for personal support workers. They also help students with disabilities bridge the gap between themselves and their able-bodied peers. Many studies have shown that service dogs have a positive impact on an individual's health, psychological well-being, social interaction, and performance of activities and participation in various life roles. When a student with a disability approaches a peer group with a service animal instead of a personal support worker, they are more likely to be interacted with directly, as opposed to having their peers speaking to a person with a disability's caregiver, and more likely to have a positive encounter. Service animals as a technology act as gateways to independence and social interactions in a higher education and social setting. In the case of service animals, the development and evolution of this technology was largely impacted by the passage of critical legislation spurred by social activism. However, one single large movement is not always the inciting incident for the development of mobility-assistive technology. Stay tuned for Chapter 4 of this series as we explore the effects of the socio-political climate and the media on the development of athletic mobility-assistive technology and how it can improve the lives of students with disabilities in higher education.